Welcome to Building Loved Businesses. I'm your host, Nathan Schock. Every week on this podcast, I talk to business owners who've built companies that employees love working for, customers love doing business with. They're also loved by their communities, even if they're not that well known outside of them yet. We look at the real challenges, the mistakes, and the breakthrough moments that have shaped these companies into who they are. So get ready. You're in for a special treat today. I'm joined by Spencer Sierra, and he's going to tell his story of mainstream and what that means and what it looks like today. So, Spencer, welcome to the show. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. So I own Mainstream Home Improvement. We're a home improvement company here based out of Moline, Illinois, in the Quad Cities. We do windows, siding, roofing, gutters, gutter cover for existing homes. And I started the business in 2001. So we're just a local company, continuing to grow and learn from our mistakes, and just we want to just keep going. So.
Yeah. And when you launched that back in almost 25 years ago now, you were working in sales, right? So what inspired you to take the leap into business ownership?
Sure. Well, I exactly. I worked in the restaurant business. I mean, that's basically my start. I've been working. I was thinking about this morning for a very, very long time. Started working at my aunt and uncle's restaurant when I was 14. I begged them, let me come work for you, and they said no, come back when you're 16. And I kept coming to the restaurant. And one day my uncle said, okay, go back and wash those pots and pans. So I started working at that restaurant at that age, and I worked all through high school. So I was in the restaurant business. I eventually became a waiter, waiting tables, and I ended up working at another restaurant, and had some time down in Orlando, Florida, working for the Marriott Corporation out of high school. And I worked there for about a year, and I came back home, and I was just in the restaurant business and waiting tables. And I worked at a restaurant here in town, and my boss came to all the servers and said, we're going to have a contest over these nightly features, and whoever wins the contest gets $25 to the gift shop. And that was back in 1996 or something like that. And I won. I won the contest. And it wasn't even close, Nathan. So I started thinking from that point, well, maybe I could start selling something with bigger tickets that I could make a commission on, and maybe, make a living that way, or it'll give me enough time to start my own restaurant, which is what that was my goal when I was a kid, that I wanted to own my own restaurant. But one day over lunch, with a guy, I was working at a national home improvement company called Pacesetter. It was it was the second largest national home improvement company in the nation at the time. I got hired there, but it was kind of clunky, and they didn't take care of their customers to the level that I wanted. So it really wasn't my idea to start Mainstream. It was my partner's at the time, and he said, I don't know why we just don't do this on our own. I was an average salesperson at that time. I wasn't anything special. If I left that company, no one would even probably know that I had left. I mean, I wasn't bringing in a lot of deals. When I heard that from him, I thought, I woke up the next morning and I said, let's do it. And so I think I had what Michael Gerber calls the entrepreneurial seizure in the book, The E-Myth, which is a great book. And I had it, and we started Mainstream in July of 2001. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into that story too, I have to talk about the restaurant business, right? Because
Good.
my very first W-2 job was waiting tables at the Baxter Cafe in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And that is sales training, customer service training, problem solving, interpersonal skills. It's all of that wrapped into one. It's like some of the best on the job training that you can get because you have to make all kinds of people happy.
Yeah.
Everybody that gets sat in your section, you got to make happy, and you get instant feedback. It's called a tip, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to do well, if you want to make money, you got to figure out how to make people happy. So I love that background. What's maybe a top one or two things you took away from that time working in the restaurant business?
It taught me so much. It was my great aunt and uncle. It was their place, and my aunt Isabel. She's still with us. She's 90, and I can still talk to her about anything, advice, business, just anything we can have. So I learned so much from watching her handle other people and handle people come in and deliver the goods, and watching her make the recipes. And it was more of just a just if you want something out of life, there's this that place for me was everything. I didn't I grew up with humble beginnings, and if I wanted something, didn't matter what, hang out with my friends or a new shirt or something like that, I had to buy it. I bought my own car. I paid for my insurance, all that stuff. But the one major thing is that, people in their nature, they're good. They're good people, and that doesn't matter. If I go back 30 years, it's still the same as the truth is the same today. I think at heart we're just I saw that uh, positive humanity out of people is just, they people just want a good time. They want to relax. They want to improve things in their life. And when you're in sales, when you're in service, you're kind of like the bridge between what they're looking for. And I feel like, that was just a great training ground for me overall.
Yeah, great. Okay, so then you launched the business as a partnership, and that lasted for a while, but it sounds like maybe you learned, in talking before, you maybe learned some tough lessons out of that. And now you're the sole owner. So maybe just walk us through quickly that time, and then the transition to becoming a sole owner, and what kind of your takeaways are from the partnership approach.
Sure. The we were in business together for about 19 years, at 20 years, somewhere in there. And when you start off, that first 2, 3 years, you don't know anything. You're just everybody's rooting for you. It's a brand new life. You're your own boss. There's the excitement of that, and your vision is kind of you're just trying to get one sale after the other to bring in a job so that installers can sell it and you make the money. But you really don't have. We didn't really have like a detailed plan. We were good salespeople. I always thought that if it was I've had that from my youth. Is if it's meant, I can just give me the ball. I want to take care of. I can do it. Whatever it is, like get out of my way. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. That kind of attitude, and that'll get you going for a few years. You can do that and repeat that and live that kind of life, with a partner, without a partner. But you can't really grow. And the one thing about home improvements is the entry level to get into this business is pretty low. You don't need a lot of education. You don't need a lot of certification. It's just you can get a business license. Eventually, you'll have to take on some expertise and do all that. But if you got the money to start it, or you can cash flow it, then you can be in business. And Nathan, you and I can start a business probably next week. We can figure something out. But that wears off. And if you don't know your numbers, backward and forward, if you're not the expert on that, if you don't have a plan in place, when the tide goes out for whatever reason, you'll be exposed. And I feel like the business, I've heard this, somebody told me this, I heard not about our business, but business in general. It's like we were in business for 1 or 2 years, but we just kept repeating that year over and over and over and over again. And what happened for us is, during that COVID boom in 2020, we were exposed for the lack of systems, the lack of knowledge of our numbers, the lack of ability to handle customer service issues. We had just been flooded with work from the COVID boom that happened, everybody's sitting at home and, buying, we're Americans, we like to buy things, right? So, and then around here we had a couple of big storms that really blew the workload up, and we just, I knew at that point, like, we cannot continue to operate this way and expect to survive long term. We're going to die. Like, there's just no way we can handle it. Um, the systems we didn't have in place. So that really just exposed the relationship that I had with my partner at the time. And he wanted to kind of stay small and didn't want to grow, and just kind of wanted to, if the phone rang, great. If not, great. And that to me drove me nuts. That is not how I operate. I want to take off. And that, so I've never been divorced, thank God. I have a great wife, almost 25 years, Betsy, and but that felt like a divorce, going through that process of wrestling the company away from him and taking it on my own. So
Yeah. Okay, and so what were, you know, looking back, as you look back 25 years, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently in terms of structuring that partnership?
yeah, I didn't need a partner.
Yeah,
I didn't need a partner, and I think if people feel like they need a partner to start their own business, they should just work for somebody else and not take on the risk and the long hours and the stress. I mean, you'll have those things naturally anyway with any job you do, but it's a huge risk that I'm taking on owning this company, and I know that. But if I could rewind the tape, I just wouldn't have entered into a partnership. I didn't need the partner to build this company. What I need to be around is great people, and that's kind of what I would say to anyone that's thinking of starting a partner. I don't know many that work. I know one down in Atlanta, like that does a great job, but that's about it. I don't know many that stick around very long.
yeah. Well, then, as you came out of that and now are the sole owner, what were some of those systems and operational changes that you made?
Well, just the recognition that top line revenue is one thing, and that, unfortunately, in our industry, that's what people focus on. How much did you sell?
That's the vanity metric.
And I'll get, if I go to a conference next week, that'll be the first thing a lot of people ask. But that bottom line, I really didn't know much about. I didn't know. I wasn't a student of the numbers, and I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm a student of the numbers now, but I'm improving. I'm exposing myself to just absorbing as much knowledge as I can, and recognizing that that huge responsibility that I have for my coworkers, for me to know what's going on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, 6 months out, a year out, being able to project as close as I can. That was the first thing. We had to raise our pricing right away. I mean, I knew that as soon as I took over, we had to because the numbers that we were selling at were not conducive for growth, profitability. And the nice thing is, when you are profitable, you can do more things for people. You can, if you have a generous spirit, which I do, your shovel gets bigger. You can help more people. You can be more generous to your employees. Personally, your lifestyle will change. That was the first thing. I recognized that we had no systems when the phone rang. So now the way I think is, I just constantly work my way back from that person calling on the phone. What is their experience going to be like when they call Mainstream? If they hire us, what does it look like for them? That whole process, I just work it all the way back to why they called us. So we had to get better in that area. Marketing, I'm trying to be a student of a marketer, Spencer the marketer, and I'm not really, that's not where I come from, but sales is my domain. I would say that's my comfort zone. But Nathan, I'll tell you, one of the toughest things for me, it's been hiring salespeople, and it's me. I'm the problem. It's been very difficult for me to get that. get a big stable of salespeople in here that can produce for me. But there's been a lot of other things that we've had. I've basically just tried to retool every aspect of the business. And if you came here in 2021 and come in here today, it's night and day. Nothing is the same. We've changed everything.
Wow. Yeah. First on, so much there, right? And I encourage any small business owner, you have to know your numbers. Right? I worked with another guy who he came to me as a construction subcontractor, and he had doubled his top line revenue over almost 2 years and was still making the same amount. So he's like, Nathan, I'm working twice as hard for the same amount of money, because he had not been a student of that. And so often, I talk to a lot of business owners who are really open about learning, but for whatever reason, we think we have to know all these financial things. And if they're not second nature, you've got to get help. You have to, you have to get someone who can help you make sense of those numbers and really become a student of them.
And it never ends. You can learn a little bit. You just keep learning. And we had an accountant that we had for 20 years. I had to get rid of this accountant because they weren't speaking the language with me. We got a new accountant, new bookkeeper. My office manager, Marcy, she's been with me since day one, and God bless her. I've just thrown so much at her, and she's been able to kind of keep up and hang with me. And but that was the first big rock that had to be. We had to start taking that one on right away, and I knew that. But top line, for whatever reason, it's just I don't know. It makes everybody feel good. It strokes the ego, but it doesn't make you sleep like a baby at night. It's that bottom line for sure.
Yes. Yeah. The top line doesn't pay the bills. The bottom line does.
Yeah.
And, the next thing there, you talked about what we call the customer journey, right?
Mhm.
Is really understanding what does it look like when someone first has awareness, and then they reach out and make contact, and then they work through the sales process, and then fulfillment, and hopefully we keep them happy enough to keep coming back, right, over and over again. So how have you now gotten a handle on that customer journey, and what kind of insights has that given you that you've used to improve the business?
Well, I would say that we are no expert on that subject as far as a complete handle, but we are at least addressing, shining light on it. And for me, for the company, the vision statement is we're a company that creates an experience for the customer that's beyond 5 stars. And so I know personally when I'm having an experience either at a hotel, restaurant, I had a AC furnace company come over yesterday, and this company did a fantastic job just walking me through what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, showed me video and pictures of my unit and all that stuff. And I just thought that's what we're after. So I think about really that experience for the customer. There's a lot of anxiety working on somebody's house. I'm sure you've had work done to your home in some form or fashion, but
Yep.
what we do, it doesn't. It can be noisy. We interrupt their personal space. They have that's usually their most important, most valuable investment they own. So I just try to work it through and think about each different each particular interaction that they might have with us. And my mistakes that I made early on was I kept all that in my head. I didn't share it with everybody in the company. And the unique thing now is we talk about this stuff all the time. We talk about it every day. We talk about it at every company meeting, every monthly meeting. Any little huddle we're doing, it's always focused about how did we make Mr. and Mrs. Jones happy? What are the things we need to do to make this couple happy? And you can't overdo it. It's just it's endless on the ways that you can really make somebody just thrilled with what you're doing. So
Yeah, I found that clarity piece to be so important, right? One of my very first management jobs, I thought I was being clear when I said just take care of the customer, right? And said that over and over again, but I had a particular set of life experiences, and the people who worked for me had a different set, right? So I'm telling them to give a Ritz-Carlton experience, but they've had a Red Roof Inn life, and they don't know what that looks like. I remember having someone who worked for me, and I was getting some complaints from customers, not about her work, but about not returning calls, really short emails, without a whole lot of explanation. And so I went and sat down with her, and what she said just kind of floored me. She said, "Well, I could get their work done a lot faster if the customers would stop bothering me." And I realized, though, in that instant, that wasn't her fault. That was my fault,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I hadn't told the story. And I could see from your perspective, too, right? Having worked for Hilton Company in Orlando, the happiest place on earth, the happiest city on earth, you have to be able to instill that through the other people in your company who have had a different set of life experiences. So how do you do that? How do you instill the beyond five-star service throughout your team?
You just touched on it, Nathan. Like, for me, they have to see it in me. All my team members have to see that in me. And I can't fake it. If I start to fake it, then they're going to start to fake it. They have to see in me that I'm serious. I care about that customer, which is the one we're working on. They're the most important people in the world to me at that time. And sometimes they outrank everybody in my life, right? And I don't want it to be that way, but I feel in my core that we have got to make that customer say, wow, Mainstream is special. They're special not just in home improvements, they're special in business. And so for me, we just talk about it. They have to see it in me, and they see it in my interactions, whether it's with the mailman, with our dumpster people, with people that everybody's on an equal level with me, and it's true, it's real. I don't. We talk about it all the time. One of the greatest things to me happened the other day. We're going to order some new shirts for our team, and one of the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, boss man, we need to put beyond 5 stars and experience beyond 5 stars on the shirt, on the back of the shirt." I'm like, that's somebody. Now we're getting it. Now the company, we're playing at a different level. And but I think it just starts with the owner. Either you care or you don't. And if you don't, there's so many great competitors out there now. We have every national company here in town. That wasn't the case 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They're all here, but the one way that we can still stand out is to just floor that customer with an experience that they got to tell other people about. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do.
And what are some of those other, when we talked before, you shared some other little things that you do that wow the customer. I think maybe you even said something about cookies.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
cookies are a big
talk
deal.
about that.
Any big idea I've borrowed from people that are successful. So I don't have many original ideas, but when I hear one uh, that stands out to me, I like that. So really, it could be cookies, it could be bagels, it could be whatever the customer loves. We as a company try to pour our love into that thing that they love so much. So, older couple, when we start a job, um, they might like a local restaurant in town. They might like a fruit basket. They might like just a candle, a jar of honey. We just try to start off the process of, we're going to do work on your home. So we go out and explain to them thoroughly what we're going to do as we are starting the job. These are our expectations, but here's a little treat for you. Here's my card. One of my customer service ladies, they'll be there talking to them. If you have anything, you need anything today, let me know. My production people make 2 or 3 stops a day. If I'm free, that's one of my favorite things I like to do is check out a job. But cookies, flowers, restaurants, ice cream, people love little extra touches. They hired us to do a service. We're going to do that service. And some people, they may not want any of the touches. We got to be able to read that. This guy is more of an introvert. Okay, that's cool, but we like to give, just pour into what these people love. That's the main thing for us to get them, excited about the work that we're going to do.
And I also know an important part of your business is what the actions that customer takes afterwards, whether it's voting for you on Locals Love Us or giving you a Google review. How are you intentional about that? And how important are those trust signals to your business?
Well, it's a lot easier if you do great work to ask a customer for a 5-star review. So it all starts right there. But even if you do 5-star work, you have to ask for it. And I can't be at every single job. There's no way, there's no chance. And my salespeople they're in houses. They're not so within the company. Again, it's making the intention. It's what we talk about. Which we make it easy for the customer to review us. So they and they do. Then I just think, but if you're willing, if you're going to do great work for people, you've earned the right to ask them to help you out to get the next customer. And there's a lot of people out there, they have no clue who to call. And, we all have to do Google reviews, and that's what people look on. I'm no different. I'm sure you know different. You go to a town, I'll be in Chicago tonight where I'm staying. I'm going to look at restaurants, and if you don't have a 4.6 or higher, I'm probably not going to eat there. So for us, it's a big deal. But do good work. That's the main thing, and ask for it. You've earned the right to do that.
Yeah. And nowhere is that more important than in home services, right? Because these people are allowing you to come into their home or work on their home, right? And those signals are an important thing saying, okay, I can trust this business, right? If I go to a hotel and I have a bad night, I mean, yeah, okay, that I wish that hadn't happened, but I'm not out a lot. But if
Yeah.
I have a company put on a shoddy roof or hang the gutters wrong, that has a lasting impact.
Absolutely. You're trying to protect other people. You don't want your neighbors to go with that company and have that same horrible experience. So, and it is true. When I started the business, that I would always hear is good news travels slowly, bad news travels fast. I think that's the same. Um, so I think the customer, they have so much knowledge now. They probably have more than most salespeople when they go into the house. And the reviews are huge. It's totally changed my business. We get a lot of repeat and referral business from our customer base, and we get reviews. We get referrals and reviews and repeat. I think today we got, I don't even know what time it is, but like the three Google reviews today, and that for me, like, I'll be driving home just smiling thinking about that. And that's our team. That's everybody here, and we just have to continue to do that.
Yeah. Okay. You know, Spencer, you said a lot has changed since you took over the business, and I also know you shared with me that implementation is one of the toughest parts of being a leader, right? We get this vision in our head of how we want something to look different, and we're just like, okay, we want it now, right? So, but it never moves as fast as we want it to. So, what have you learned over these last couple of years about turning your ideas into action?
Hmm. That's a great question, Nathan. That's a whole podcast. That's a whole book. That right there is the nugget. It is a such a challenge when you read a book, when you go to a conference, when you listen to a podcast, when you watch a webinar, and you're so fired up from that particular idea that is going to make your company go to the next level. The problem is that implementation and getting everybody on board with that idea and falling in love with that idea like you did. I'm a visionary. I'm not really an implementer. Um, I'm a faithful guy. I believe in the Lord, and I go to Him every morning and I say, "This is, if it's meant to be, you will take over. Like I can't do this alone." So what I recognize is I need Him to help me, guide me every step of the way, and I'm a prayerful guy. So that's a daily thought. My team, they are so awesome. They're so patient. I have the best team. They know, okay, this guy's got an idea. Here we go. But I've had to learn, I have to recognize that I cannot do this on my own and I need help. And so every great idea that we've been able to implement, has taken way longer than I thought. And I don't know if that's normal. I think it is because my peer groups, they always started calming me down, like, "Oh, don't worry, man, you guys will figure it out." But when I look back, when I go back 3 years, when I took over, I officially took over June 22nd of 22. When I look back, um, I'm overwhelmed at what we've been able to do and what we have been able to implement. And I have new faces. They weren't here 3 years ago. None of these people. Marcy was, God bless her, but none of them were here. Everybody's new, but they can see, now where I want to go. And I just have to have faith that, okay, take these big rock ideas, work on those, measure yourself 90 days out, 6 months out, and look, they're not all going to work.
Yeah.
They're not, all these ideas are not all going to work. You're going to fail. You're going to look
Yeah.
at an idea, well, that was stupid. Why did I waste people's time with that? But the ones that stick, that's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Um, I'm also a person of faith, and what strikes me about the Bible too is it does not call us to a blind faith, right? It calls us to a faith based on the past experiences in our life, just like what you
Yeah.
talked about. And as entrepreneurs, we can be so into what we haven't accomplished yet, right? The gap between where we're at and where we think we should be. But if we just look back and look at where we were a couple of years ago and see this huge gain, it totally changes our perspective.
Mm. Yeah.
And, you know, I think of that constantly, right? How do I live in the gain and not the gap? So
It,
I love
it's
that.
it's that space, and it stretches. When you're a person of faith, it stretches your gratitude. This morning, I was shaving. I was thinking about coming on with you and talking to you in this conversation, and I'm like, mainstream. It was originally built on like a very loose foundation, a sand-like, card-like foundation, not built to last, right? And now what we've done in 3 years is we're building it on a solid structure, rock-like structure. I go to mass this morning. You're going to love this. The gospel reading from the seventh chapter of Matthew is talking about Jesus. Uh, if you do the will of the Father, you are building your house on a rock, and that is not a coincidence. And I just feel that it's what we're doing, and it's what's going to allow the company, if we keep doing things the right way, to we live in America. The sky's the limit, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, this has been a great story. Now let's look ahead for a minute, right? Because you had 19 years as a partnership. You have the interruption of COVID. Now you have this business that you've kind of rebuilt along the lines of what you want to accomplish. Now let's look out ahead a little, Spencer. Where do you see mainstream home improvement going in the future?
Yeah, well, I have numbers written down, and I'd like to hit those numbers. I'd like to be 15 times the size we are now in the next 5 years. Um, and I know different locations I'd like to be at, not just here in the Quad Cities, because I think there's a huge need for what we do, for the experience that we deliver. And so that's where I see the company heading. But there's no guarantees. We know this. uh, it's the risk that we're taking on, and I do know what I love about what we're doing now is these systems. Uh, Everything has to. We need those in place if we want to grow. Otherwise, if we grow and we have these broken systems, it's going to be a nightmare. I saw that during COVID, and that's where I would like to take the company with the help of my team.
Yeah, wow. What an exciting vision. 15x in 5 years. I love it. So what do you think are the biggest things that you will have to change in order to achieve that? Or change or things that could get in your way?
Yeah. Well, I have got to start becoming a better recruiter of talent. And I have seen so far that that is not a particular great skill set that I currently possess, but I'm working on it. It's a weakness now, but I'm working on it. And it doesn't matter where I'm at. I see great, talented people all the time. They have to start working for me, and and I need them because of what I've seen is adding key people to my company that are very smart. They just get you to that spot quicker, a lot faster than you thought you could be at. And so we will need more people. We'll need better, smarter people that have high intellect and a high motor that want to work and don't, if the complaints, they don't, make them, they're not the forefront of their life. We know it's a tough job, but just to continue to work on the culture for sure.
Yeah, great. I'll give you one thought that you can take
Sure.
with you, right?
Yeah.
In exchange for sharing all your wisdom, is I was just talking to another business leader here the other day, and he said a very similar thing, right? The biggest barrier between me and success is recruiting enough new good people. And so I looked at him and said, okay, show me how much recruiting time you had blocked off on your calendar the last 2 weeks,
Right,
right?
right.
Now show me the recruiting line item in your budget.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked at me and is like, okay, I get it, right? And he's like,
You,
you know, I get
you
it.
you have to give me that guy's number so I can cry on his shoulder too, because I'm guilty of that as well, for sure. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and it will.
Good. Well, this has really been great. You've got an exciting story, one I think that so many people can learn from. And if you were talking to somebody else now, right, saying, of all the stuff you've learned from your journey, what advice would you give to someone else that was thinking about getting into this work and wanting to build a business that they love? What would you share with them?
I would just say personally, if you don't go inward, whatever that means to that person, for me, it's my faith. If I don't go deep inside myself and start thinking about Spencer and the weaknesses that I have and the areas where I'm a mess, you know, you have to go inward to be a leader. And if you don't do that, I think you can get by. I think you can probably do okay, but that will just give you the peace that you need on a daily basis to kind of walk through these ups and downs that are going to happen for you. But I would start focus. Look at the guy in the mirror. He's the one you got to work on, and everything else will fall into place after that.
Yeah. All leadership starts as self-leadership, right? If you can't lead yourself, no one else is going to follow, and it's just a matter of time before things unravel. So great advice.
Yeah, it's true.
So, for those who might want to hire you or follow you or just get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that, Spencer?
Yeah, you can send me a personal email, Spencer at mainstreamhi.com. The company's LinkedIn page, I have a LinkedIn page. You can find me. But just send me that email. I'd have a conversation with anybody about any topic if I have the time, for sure. I'll block off time for anybody.
Well, Spencer, thanks so much for joining us and for sharing your story.
My pleasure, Nathan. Thank you for having me.
Great. And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, please leave a review and share it with someone else who is building something great in their community. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platform so you never miss an episode of Building Love Businesses. And we'll see you next time right here.